Back live, and Pakistan has struck a deal with Saudi Arabia to save its crumbling economy. The Strategic Mutual Defence Agreement aims to ensure security stability for Saudi Arabia while fostering economic stability for Pakistan. As part of the agreement, Pakistan will deploy substantial military forces in the Arabian Peninsula to protect Saudi Arabia from any aggression. In return, Saudi Arabia's significant financial investment will bolster Pakistan's economy, making it more competitive. Now, the deployment from Pakistan will include 4 military brigades, 2 Air Force squadrons and 2 naval fleets stationed in Saudi Arabia. Initially, Pakistan will deploy 25,000 soldiers across various Saudi military bases and cities. Each Pakistani soldier will earn a minimum of 6,000 Saudi riyals, or approximately $1,600 per month, which is $200 more than a UN peacekeeping soldier. Additionally, Pakistan plans to establish advanced air defense and rocket force commands in collaboration with Saudi Arabia. Pakistan will also supply military equipment, ammunition, mortars, tanks and short-range missiles to Saudi Arabia. In return, Saudi Arabia will invest $10 billion in Pakistan's infrastructure, economic mining, investments or the overall framework of Pakistan. Then there is mining, energy and security sectors. Moreover, Saudi Arabia will boost its bilateral trade with Pakistan from $5 billion to $15 billion annually across all sectors. Riyadh will also use its diplomatic channels to normalize Islamabad's relations with the world. Saudi Arabia is interested in acquiring Chinese technology and is keen to purchase JF-17 Thunders from Pakistan and J-10Cs from China. Now, for Bharat, the calculus is mixed. The deal is unlikely to upend the ties between Bharat and Saudi Arabia. There is no NATO-style pact. Saudi Arabia will not go to war with Bharat for Pakistan. Saudi Arabia is delinked the pact from ties with Bharat, calling them more robust than ever. Saudi Arabia is Bharat's 4th largest trading partner, and New Delhi is the 2nd largest for Riyadh. 2024-25 bilateral trade stood at $41.88 billion between Bharat and Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia-Pakistan trade was just $3 to $4 billion. Now, but Bharat must remain wary. The pact may slowly erode trust, hitting economic and defense ties as Riyadh leans towards Pakistan. It raises fears of an escalated involvement from external powers in Bharat's strategic calculus, while it signals a formalized security cooperation between Islamic nations and reset of Saudi-Pakistan ties. Now, the question remains, is the deal simply high on optics or a robust, tangible security strategy for Pakistan? Let's go across to Zahak Tanveer, Middle East expert, Tilak Devashar, author and ex-member of the NSAB, and Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Tilak Devashar ji, how would you read this?
Thank you, Anand, for having me on your show, and good evening to all the fellow panelists. Now, this deal was signed last month, right? 17th of September, in the wake of the Israeli attack on Qatar. Very little is known of the details, the full stops and the commas. And I think what has brought this to the notice back now after a month is the fact that the deal was already tested. See, it's a mutual security defense agreement, which means an attack on one is an attack on the other. So the question that is being talked about in Pakistan also is that what happened when there were border clashes with Afghanistan? What did Saudi Arabia do then? If it's a mutual pact, if it's a one-sided pact, you've listed out all the elements that Pakistan will be doing, which means it's then a one-sided pact. It's not a mutual defense agreement. Now, here Saudi Arabia can, of course, take the plea that it was not Afghanistan that attacked. Afghanistan was just responding to the attack carried out by Pakistan. When they attacked Kabul, and this was in response. So the agreement doesn't come into play. But these are semantics. We don't know the details yet. But the fact remains that Saudi Arabia didn't even come up with a strong condemnation. It sent a very bland statement for both sides to exercise restraint. Qatar took the lead, arranged a ceasefire, and arranged an agreement between the two sides. Whether it holds or not is besides the point. So, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think this looks a very watery kind of a deal. That it is committing so much for the defense of Saudi Arabia. I don't see Saudi Arabia doing its side of the lifting at all. So I think questions in Pakistan are being legitimately asked that what's in it for Pakistan?
Well, what's in it for Pakistan? Allow me, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, Zahak Tanveer and Tilakji, to just add a different color or perspective with this story. Here it's on News18.com, so kindly peruse it. The inflation rate in Pakistan currently is at 38%. So much so that there is a video that's going viral now where at a local wedding, the guests are being charged for the food. The rate of 1 kilogram of chicken is at 1500 rupees Pakistani per kilogram. So
Are you serious?
Yeah, sir. Food is being weighed on a scale and the guests are queuing at the counter. Rates are set at 2000 rupees per kilo of pulao, 5000 rupees for 2 kilos of chicken curry, 1000 rupees for vegetables. And these rates vary across various weddings. So आप शादी में खाने के लिए दावत पे जा रहे हैं तो you have to pay for the दावत and people are bringing in containers from their homes and then taking this food back after paying for it. So that's what is the situation currently in Pakistan. So as of now, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, amidst this entire mutual defense agreement, have the Pakistanis just loaned off their army because they can't afford to pay for it and told the Saudis they will be standing there doing chowkidari, please pay the money and take care of their salaries.
In a way, you are right that $1,600 means a lot of chicken curry and a lot of biryani for every soldier who goes there. But my point is that $1,500 for the soldier, how much has Munir got under the table? Because Munir is certainly not going to say yes without getting a couple of $100 million, if not tens of millions of dollars. Secondly, you mentioned optics in the beginning. And I tend to agree with that because $10 billion that Saudi Arabia has promised in infrastructure and so on has been talked about for many years now. I've heard it year after year and nothing has come to it. So whether $10 billion will ultimately materialize or is it just optics for the Pakistani population is a different thing. The other point, the larger point is, does it mean a strategic difference for India vis-a-vis Pakistan? And does it mean a strategic reset for South Asia, where Gulf also enters into the equation? A related question is that now if you start from Bangladesh right up to Azerbaijan and Turkey, you have an entirely different set of circumstances that could face India as it had faced India to some extent during Operation Sindoor. So these are the ifs and buts we will in India have to reckon with in the months and years ahead. But as far as Pakistan sending army to Saudi Arabia is concerned and to different divisions, not just in one major city or the other, I'm reminded of two instances. One in Jordan, when Pakistan sent army under Brigadier Ziaul Haq and massacred Palestinians there. Second, in Saudi Arabia itself, if I remember correctly, about 20,000 Pakistani soldiers were posted in the 80s. And then again during the first Gulf War, sometime in the early 90s, Pakistani soldiers were posted in Saudi Arabia. But those were mostly internal exigencies. This time, the plea is that Saudi Arabia faces external aggression, and that is why the hurry to have this mutual defense pact. Now, if Pakistan cannot face up to Afghanistan, as recent events have shown, how can Pakistan defend Saudi Arabia against Israel or even against Iran?
Well, you mentioned internal exigencies. There is another thought which says that there are about 40,000 plus beggars of Pakistan who are there in Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia does not know what to do with it. So will they unleash the Pakistani army only to deal with them because they are now on Saudi payroll? That's another question. Zahak Tanveer, your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much, Anand, for having me on your show. The relationship between Saudi and Pakistan is not new. It's been happening for decades. As our esteemed panelist just mentioned about the presence of the Pakistani army in Saudi Arabia, if you look back at the Makkah siege which happened. They invited the Pakistani army. If you look at the 2015 Asifatul Hazm, the Operation Northern Thunder, which happened in Yemen, Saudi Arabia invited Pakistani army. If you look back at the Bahrain uprising, which happened in 2012, Pakistani army was involved in that. So basically, Pakistani army is considered to be one of the strongest army in the Sunni Muslim world. And for that reason, Saudi or Bahrain or Qatar, they tried to befriend them in order to confront the other side of the Muslim paradigm. The second thing is, a lot of experts have been talking about it, that with this pact between Saudi and Pakistan, Saudi Arabia is giving a message to Israel that they have the nuclear-backed country with them. But the reality is that Israel has not, in the history, Israel has never attacked Saudi Arabia. You see, Israel has never backed any kind of militias against Saudi Arabia. You see that Israel has never talked about conquering Makkah or Medina. It was Iran which has been talking about it, and it's a message to Iran that they have a nuclear country with them to support them. And the third thing is that the Pakistan talks about deploying 25,000 soldiers right now, but that will not happen. That's not quite executable because Pakistan is dealing with the internal problems right now. They have Balochistan problem, the POK problem. They have the problem from Afghanistan, and they have been doing all this monkey business in Kashmir as well. And China is not happy with what Pakistan is doing right now by aligning with the United States. So Pakistan is right now dealing with its own internal problems. So for that reason, but it's not so executable right now that Pakistan will deploy 25,000 soldiers in Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia is also not facing any kind of existential threat as of now. And the final point which I want to make is that Saudi Arabia has been lending a lot of loans and money to Pakistan, and Pakistan is not repaying it. Right. Pakistan is not giving it back. So Saudi Arabia is using this kind of deal to trade off. And every time Saudi Arabia is asking for that money, the loan which Saudi Arabia has given to Pakistan, Pakistani media and Pakistani influencers have been barking off Saudi Arabia. And they have been blaming Saudi Arabia for asking money on interest, since interest is haram in Islam, and Saudi Arabia is asking money on interest from Pakistan. And for that reason, Saudi Arabia does not want to get involved with Pakistan on just a freebie basis.
Well, this whole thing, what is haram and what is not, is very conditional with the Pakistanis. Their loot, plunder, massacre, their whole set of corruption, etc., whining and dining and, etc., is not haram. But when whatever they are owed or they owe to the world, when that is asked, then that becomes haram suddenly. The other thing is, it's a bottomless bucket, Pakistan. Whoever puts money there has to forget that money. It will never come back. So what the Saudis and how the Saudis will do it, we have to wait and watch. But Tilak Devasharji, at a time when we see entities like the Tehreek-e-Labbaik being banned in Pakistan, again opening up another front, with these 25,000 soldiers deployed in Pakistan, we saw what happened in Operation Sindoor. Now, if they are carted off to Saudi Arabia, how will the Pakistani army defend its borders? They are stretched across all sides, as Ambassador Rajiv Dogra was just mentioning.
No, I agree. I think Pakistan will find it extremely difficult to spare by 25,000, even half that figure. Because, you see, they have problems in Balochistan and KPK, but these are in the periphery. Now you have a problem in Punjab. By different reports, they have killed, literally shot, between 300 to 600 members of the Tehreek-e-Labbaik, the Barelvis.
Yeah.
And the Barelvis are about 65% of the population of Pakistan. There is bound to be a backlash. It may not happen immediately, but there will be a backlash. And will Pakistan then have enough forces to be able to hold this down? I don't think so. So I'm not sure how many troops they are actually going to spare for Saudi Arabia, or this is just selling them a line. You see, for the Saudis also, as was rightly pointed out, they have invested a lot of money already in Pakistan, which are these safe deposits, or giving them an oil, that you can buy oil for 1 year and we won't charge. Saudi Arabia knows it's not going to get the money back. So probably feels it's a good bargain that you deploy soldiers, and the soldier's salary is then deducted for the amount already given by Saudi Arabia. But can Pakistan spare that? So I am very skeptical whether even half that amount, 12,000 even, troops can be spared for Saudi Arabia. Similarly for the Air Force.
Right.
This time, I don't think so. After the bashing that they got in Operation Sindoor, they're going to be sparing any air assets at all. And now, Afghanistan is also on hot border.
Well, we have limited time, but this is something which I have to ask. So, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra and to Zahak Tanveer and Tilak Ji, I'm just going to segue away from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia to this entire ASEAN and Russia oil thing. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, what do you think? PM is going to attend the ASEAN summit virtually. He's not going there physically. Again, there are indications both from government and also private oil companies that the leaning on Russian oil is going to reduce. How do you read this?
Well, firstly, I think it's a very wise decision not to go to the ASEAN summit. Nothing against ASEAN as such, but as a guard against a very unpredictable leader of the American society and American people. So I think it's better to stay away from him. But as far as Russian oil, and especially two companies which have yesterday been put on sanctions list, Rosneft included, Rosneft has a major stake in a refinery in Jamnagar, which used to belong to SR. So India, whether it reduces oil imports from Russia is one thing, but can it then deny a company operating on its soil to source oil from its own oil fields in Russia? I think that is one question which even Americans should have to think about. The second thing is, how long can this dictatorial policy on sovereign countries continue? India has stood up to America, to some extent Brazil, and China has indeed stood up to America. I don't know why European countries are being so servile. So I think this oil thing has ruined European economy. We should not bend over backwards to please and appease America.
Right. Thank you very much, gents. I've run out of time, but we'll continue this conversation soon again. Always a pleasure to have you here on The Right Stand. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much.
On that note, we call it a wrap on this show. Brass tacks after the break. Stay with us.